Cascade Hoops Talk, bringing the world NAIA basketball one podcast at a time. Morning, Billy D, Cascade Hoops. How you doing? We're going to do something a little bit different this morning. Before we start, I want to remind everybody, go to Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk. When the season starts, you'll be able to read our stories on Cascade Hoops Talk. And also, when you go to your podcast, please subscribe and like. You know, we're just about a little over 2 weeks away from basketball starting, NAIA basketball. I'll be so glad when volleyball is over. It plugs up the timeline on my Twitter. I don't have a good enough attention span to try to work through all that stuff. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's got their winter plans made, which includes lots of NAIA basketball. Remember, buy your season tickets, buy an extra season ticket, take a friend. NAIA basketball, the best entertainment value in America. I think I heard that somewhere else before, but I can't remember where. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the top teams last season, kind of see where they're at. We've been able to talk to most of the coaches. Some of them we haven't been able to connect with, but we'll kind of just work our way through, see who they got, see who they're losing, get a little bit of a preview for some of the top teams last season. Most of these schools, you can go back and listen to the preseason show. And I think what we're going to do is just go ahead and work, I don't know if it's frontward or backward. We're going to start with the two schools that played in the final, see what they got, what they've lost, what they have coming back. So let's do it like that. Do you have any questions? None being heard. We'll go ahead and we'll start with the defending national champion. It's only fitting. Shawnee State University. They play in the Mid-South. If you haven't listened to the interview with Delano Thomas, their head coach, need to go on to the podcast, listen to his interview from about a couple weeks ago. The NAIA Coach of the Year, they finished 31-2 last season. A couple big losses here at Shawnee State. I'm a little bit concerned. They're going to be losing E.J. Onu, 150 blocks last season. That's amazing. He's just a monster. They're going to miss him because he was just a game changer. He could protect the entire baseline from corner to corner. He was so quick, so big, wingspan of, I think, 18 feet. I think they measured it. But he's going to be a huge loss. But just as big a loss is James Jones. He's moved on as a graduate transfer going to Coastal Carolina. Last season, he was in the top 12 in scoring and assists. But anybody who remembers from the tournament last year, whenever Shawnee State needed a score, needed a possession, needed a steal, needed anything, it seemed that James Jones just came up with it. He was a backbreaker all season, and especially in that championship run. But they do have some returners. The cupboard's not empty. So what can fans look forward to with Shawnee State? So they have Amir Gilmore. He's a real offensive rebounder. He'll be back along with Akeel Wells. He had 85 assists last season. Donovan Carlisle is returning along with Miles Thomas. And they went out and they've kind of shored things up. They knew they needed a little bit more size. They got some good transfers, a couple of very good players. One from Southern Utah, played at LSU for a bit. Cortez Cooper, 6'10". He'll be coming in this year, as well as 6'7", Elijah Bishop. He's a transfer from Columbus State. Recent bit of good news for Shawnee State. Shawnee State's fans will be happy to hear that both Justin Patrick as well as Jack Trainer will be back this season as men's basketball assistants. But also just announced the other day is a top assistant from Cumberland, Mark Brown, will move over and take an assistant job at Shawnee State. He brings a wealth of experience with him, and he'll be a great addition for Shawnee State. I think the upshot, just in my opinion, I think the loss of E.J. Onu and James Jones are going to be very, very tough for the program to overcome, especially early on. Now, these transfers that they brought in, Elijah Bishop, he's from Beechcroft High, where Coach Thomas went to high school, and Cortez Cooper, both excellent ball players, and they're really going to fill some holes. But it's going to take a little bit of time for them to gel. And what I worry about is they play in that Mid-South, teams like Georgetown Life, Thomas More, not a lot of room for error. If they're going to make a big run this season, they're really going to have to come together in the preseason. So we'll see how Coach Thomas pulls them together. Not to despair, they'll be very good, but are they going to be at the level of last year? That's going to be the challenge. Next, let's take a look at Lewis Clark State. They're in Lewiston, Idaho. They play in the Cascade Conference. Head coach there is Austin Johnson. They really just lost a ton. Again, you can go and listen to Coach Johnson in his preseason interview. But Demeek Mitchell, 15 points a game, 111 assists, 61 threes, 41% from three, all-time 3-point and assist leader, I believe, at Lewis Clark. He's gone. Demeek Mitchell's gone. Tristan Bradley, 16.6 rebounds, 1,000-point man. He's gone. Hodges Bailey, just a top defender, 49% from three. He's gone. Travis Yanner, leading scorers junior year. He had some injuries his senior year. He's gone. Jake Albright, gone. So they're really going to be starting over there in Lewiston. So who's coming back this season? Well, they've got a returning starter, Khalil Stevenson, 66 assists last year. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He's, I guess you could call him a utility guy, but he's a glue guy. He's going to be somebody who coach can really look to in the huddle when things get tough in, College Idaho or Oregon Tech or up in Northwest in that little gym. So at least they'll have a little bit of experience in the huddles there. And then you've got Nathan Fromm. He's up from Anchorage, 7.5 points. He's a junior, 7.5 points, 3 rebounds. He's been a little bit banged up last year. He played 20 minutes a game. And then you got a couple of freshmen coming in that, even though they played last year, it wasn't, I'm going to call it live experience with real crowds. But you got Orion Courtney out of West Lynn, just a basketball factory, smart, efficient player, but he's a freshman, played 13 minutes a game. And then you got Silas Binion out of Eugene, great with the ball, 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, played 15 minutes a game. These are very good ball players, but I'm telling you, the Cascade Conference is a very good conference, and these guys have not been around the conference yet. There's a lot of freshmen in the Cascade Conference that haven't been around the conference with crowds. I think they're going to struggle. I think these young players, even though they played in those controlled scrimmages last year with no fans, I think when you walk into Warner Pacific and it's packed, you walk into Northwest, it's just a different game when you've got those stands full. And I think the teams that have the experience in the conference are the teams that are going to do the best. So that being said, Coach Johnson, he does have a couple of very good graduate transfers coming in. I've talked to some other coaches about them, and these guys can play ball. Alex Summerfield out of Alaska Fairbanks, he's a blue-collar guy, just tough nose, can play the game. And then a 6'8" transfer out of a graduate transfer as well out of Central Washington, has a long basketball history. Kevin Baker, 48% from three last year. Guy can play inside, outside, and like we say, bang the three. These are both GNAC guys, one of the toughest NC2A D2 conferences. I think they're really going to help out Coach Johnson and the Lewis Clark State Warriors this season as well. I also want to mention a couple of freshmen that are coming up to Lewiston this year. Keegan Horde, he's a new freshman. And then an Australian, Kalen Satwell, strong, smart player. He's a freshman as well. So they're going to be a little bit younger. They're losing a lot of talent, a lot like Shawnee State. They're really going to have to gel at the start of the year before they enter that tough Cascade Conference. Let's see what Coach Johnson can do in the preseason. But I have a feeling they're going to be a lot tougher than what Coach Johnson is letting on. That brings us to a team that lost in the Final Four last year out of the Crossroads. They're located in Fort Wayne, Indiana, coached by Chad Lacrosse, St. Francis. They're the Cougar. They have a lot of depth coming back from a very good team. Antoine Cushenberry, a first-team All-American. I've said before, he's a guy I like to watch. He plays basketball. He's not a full-time cheerleader on the court. Doesn't spend a lot of energy showing up his opponent. When this team needs a three, he hits it. He's a workman, keeps his mouth shut, plays good basketball. He's got a dagger, and I'm telling you, he pulls it out when the game's on the line. He's very good. And then along in the backcourt with Cushenberry is you got a guy named Jalen Mole. He's out of Fort Wayne there. Coach describes him as a downhill guy. He can get to the hoop in a hurry. 3-to-1 assist average. I love a guy that takes care of the ball. Between him and Cushenberry, 164 assists last season. So St. Francis is going to be strong in the backcourt this season. Another Fort Wayne guy, David Edja, 15 points, 9 rebounds last year. He's going to be a key piece of that team again. And then the last of the Fort Wayne trio, Dan McKeemum, 104 threes last season, 104, 45% from three. Guys just keep getting better and better behind the three-point arc, don't they? And they move it back, and then now, it used to be if you were a 35% shooter from the three, you were good. Now you got to be shooting 42% before you even anybody even talks about how well you shoot the three. They have a tough kid, a freshman, Brayton Bailey. He shot 56% from three last season. Very efficient with the ball, doesn't take dumb shots. He's a defender, so coach is really going to be looking to him for some more good minutes this year. The only knock on St. Francis is, they're very good at their starters. Their starting lineup is going to be tough, but they're going to drop off. And how quickly can the new guys and the bench come along? When we find out the answer to that question, we're going to know just how good the Cougars are going to be up there in Fort Wayne. But I guarantee you Chad Lacrosse is going to put out a good team. They're going to have one of the best starting fives in the country. It's just, can they compete as they move down the bench? Now, St. Francis has definitely been able to add some depth. Mostly they're young. The one exception is a transfer from Bethel. A lot of you know who Max Newman is. Very good big man. He is 6'9", 6'10", but crafty. Plays well, back to the hoop. Very good offensively under the basket. So Max is going to be a big addition for St. Francis. And then there's several freshmen. Zane Burke out of Blackhawk Christian, that is in Fort Wayne there. Nayland Thompson, Bishop Luers, Tyson Elwer out of Ohio. But again, these guys are young, and we'll see how Coach Lacrosse can fit them in as the season starts. Another Final Four team to take a look at is Southwestern Assemblies of God University, SAGU, the Lions. You can listen to our recent interview with Coach Delton Deal, just came out a couple days ago. Boy, they're really going to be loaded. They got Joshua Kashila. He's from Angola. He played on the Angola national team in the offseason. He's back for another year at SAGU. Joshua Kashila, he averaged 19 points per game, 5 rebounds. Like I said, NAIA first-team All-American. But then right along with him is Joel Polius. He's from Castries St. Lucia. He was third-team All-American, 14 points, 10 rebounds. This guy can pound the boards. They've also got a surprise coming back. They got Nick Mason. If you remember, he got hurt a couple of seasons ago. Didn't know if he'd be back. He's from Frisco, Texas. Coach says he's back. Hopefully he'll be back to where he was. He was over 20 points a game year before last. They also have a couple other important returnees from Van Alstyne, Texas. The Bowling brothers, Isaiah and Noah. Boy, they can both shoot the ball. They both average about 10, 11 points a game, 3, 4 rebounds. But these guys can really play ball. They can definitely shoot. A couple young people to really keep an eye on there at Sagu. Alaric Hall, he's out of Mansfield, Texas. He played 16 minutes a game last season. He'll be repeating his freshman year. And also Howard Turner, he's a sophomore this season. He's out of Detroit. He also played 16 minutes a game last season. So Sagu is really loaded up. They pretty much got the same team as last year. Everybody knows that doesn't mean the same result. So it'd be interesting to see what Coach Deal can do with this veteran team this season. You know, they play in that tough Sooner Athletic Conference, so they're going to be tested early. Why don't we take a look at the teams that fell in the final 8 last season? We're going to start with Carroll College. They're in Helena, Montana. They finished 20-8. Boy, they were tough last year, and they've got a great group of returners. Jovan Slivonsanchen, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. His second team All-American, 6'5" out of Serbia, 45 steals, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 45% from the three. The guy is a basketball player, and he's coming back for his senior year. Coach absolutely has to be excited about having him back. And then right along there with Jovan, Coach Kurt Paulson's going to be absolutely thrilled to also have back Shamrock Campbell. He's out of Spokane, Washington, 6'1". He was honorable mention last season, 83 assists. Gotta love a guy who can dish the ball. 14.5 points, 3 rebounds. Listen to this, 83 assists, 22 turnovers. Shamrock Campbell has a 4-to-1 turnover ratio. That's pretty good. Pretty good guy to build your team around. He hit 69 threes, 49% of his threes went in, and a 92% free throw shooter. Just a complete basketball player. So those are the 2 seniors that Carroll will be building around, but they also have Brendan Temple. He's out of Castle Rock, Colorado, 6'8", 9 points, 3 rebounds, 56 assists. I tell you, this Carroll team really dishes the ball, and they take care of the ball. Ifeanyi Okoye, 6'7", out of Rancho Cucamonga, California. 7 points, 5 rebounds. He also dished out 30 assists. He's a junior this season. He's going to give a bit more experience to Coach Paulson. A couple younger guys, a sophomore, Guilherme Pedra, out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, 6'6", 6 points, 3 rebounds. He also dished 31 assists. Coach Paulson also bringing in a significant recruiting class this year, and it's really highlighted by local Helena standout, Montana All-State, Braden Cook. I'm sure fans there in Helena will be excited to watch him play his college ball. The only person I could find on the roster that isn't coming back is Dennis Flowers. I'm sure Carroll fans will miss him this season, but I tell you, Coach Paulson has a good team coming back again. A good team coming back doesn't mean the same results, but fans there in Helena have got to be excited. If you haven't got your season ticket, I suggest you do. That Frontier Conference is going to be tough this season. Another team that fell in the final 8 last season, Loyola there in New Orleans. They play in that Southern States Conference, but boy, oh boy, Coach Stacy Hollowell, he's got them coming back. These guys are going to be tough. I know everybody's going to be deep, but Coach Hollowell is loaded. It's going to all start with Zach Reitzel. Everybody knows who he is. Senior out of Prosper, Texas. Zach, 6'7", 205. This second team All-American last season. He averaged 17 points, 10 rebounds. He pounded the boards, but 80 assists. A complete basketball player. Dishes the ball, rebounds the ball, scores the ball. Teamed with him, Miles Burns, another senior, NAIA honorable mention last year. This 6'6" senior out of Houston averaged 16 points, 9 rebounds. Another senior coming back, Terry Smith, 6'5" out of Chicago. Last season, 12 points, 8 rebounds. And then he's going to join up with another senior, Andrew Fava, 5'10" out of Baltimore. 62 threes last season, 40% from behind the line, 11 points a game. And then one more senior, Josh Laney. He opted out last season, but he's coming back. 6'8", 245, some height that they're going to need there in the Southern States Conference. He's out of Australia, Laney is. A junior, Zach Mueller, 6'4", out of Dallas. 6 points last season average, but he had 47 assists. Then he's going to team up with another junior, Eddie Burgess, 6'9", out of Pfluger Hill, Texas. You know, fans will remember that Loyola lost that tough overtime game in the Final Eight to Lewis Clark State. These guys are going to come back determined. These guys really rebound. They out-rebounded opponents by more than 10 rebounds a game last season. They're going to need just a bit better shooting this season. I'm sure coach is fully aware of that, and they got to shoot free throws better. As big as they are, they're going to get fouled a lot. They only shot 67% from the line last season, and they got to do better than that, take advantage of that height. Do not bet against Loyola out of New Orleans. A lot of great talent coming back, and they'll definitely be competing for that Southern States title this season. Another team that fell in that Final Eight, you'll remember that Bethel fell to St. Francis in the Final Eight. That was the third time they'd met that season. They're both from the Crossroads League. Just a quick, comment. 3 teams from the Crossroads League were all going to have to get through that one spot. And these were 3 of the best teams in the nation, St. Francis, Bethel, and Indiana Wesleyan. And only one of those 3 was going to make it through this spot. And St. Francis was the survivor. But I think it was a bit of, shenanigans would be a bit harsh of a term, but it just seemed odd to bunch all of the Crossroad League. Everybody knows how tough that league is, and they were all bunched right into that. Only one was going to make it through. So enough said about that. So let's look at the Bethel Pilots. The obvious thing when you look at Bethel is Coach Steve Draben is going to lose Travion Cruz, 25 points, 5 rebounds. Fans in Mishawaka have had a great run with Cruz, probably the best player at Bethel since Rico Swanson, and he definitely made a lot of good memories for fans there in Mishawaka. But let's look at the Bethel Pilots this year. So they're returning some key seniors. Let's start with Zach Owens, a senior out of Anderson, Indiana. He played 30 minutes a game last year, 19 points, 3.5 rebounds. And another key senior, Jared DeHart, 6 foot. He's out of Trafalgar, Indiana. He shot 42% from 3. He hit 83 threes last season, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 111 assists, a 2-to-1 turnover ratio. A really key piece returning for Coach Draben. Another senior, Wesley Burr, 6'5", out of Modesto, California, 9 points, 5 rebounds. And then a junior who started last season, Nathan Ertz, 6'6", out of Valparaiso, Indiana, 14 points, 6 rebounds. He played 25 minutes a game. And another senior who played 17 minutes a game, Yanni Griffith, 6'9", 240. He's out of the UK. They're really going to need his height as they battle there in the Crossroads. The Pilots have also added some names that fans there in Mishawaka will want to become familiar with. Drew Green, he's a transfer. He's out of Chapel Hill. He's got 3 years remaining, 6'2". He's coming in as a sophomore. A big guy, 6'8", Brandon Hunt. He's out of Williamston, Michigan. He's a freshman. Brandon Hunt was the number 39 player rated by Prep Hoops out of the state of Michigan last season. He's a freshman coming in. He's going to be, again, some much-needed height. The Pilots also have Foster Mefford, 6 foot, freshman out of Hanover, Indiana, coming in. 12.6 a season. All-state honorable mention his senior year. And then one more young man, David Setka out of Croatia, 6'11". He'll come in as a freshman as well. And that height's going to be important because fans in Mishawaka, you already realize that Max Newman has moved on. He went over to St. Francis. That's going to be a big loss. But Coach Draben has went out, got some more height. The Pilots are building around Zach Owens and Jason DeHart. They're going to be very good this year. A lot of seniors, a lot of experience. They're going to have to fill that hole in the middle. But we'll see what Coach Draben can do and see how they can fare in that really tough Crossroads League. I'll be out to Mishawaka in November when Bethel plays Lincoln College. I hope many of you fans will come up and say hello. Well, let's wrap up our Final Eight. A team that fell to eventual champion last season, Shawnee State. Let's talk about Jamestown, coached by Danny Neville. They're there in Jamestown, North Dakota. They play in the GPAC. Hey, let's start with a couple of guys that are moving on. Jack Talley, 9 points, 4 rebounds. Great team guy. They're going to miss him. He was a glue guy along with Brock Schramm, a great locker room guy. These two guys, they weren't the leading scorers. They didn't lead in any statistical categories, but they were blue collar guys that always did a good job for Jamestown. They're moving on, but Jamestown is young, and keep your eye on Jamestown because they're young and they're going to be very good. And now they've got experience being in the Final Eight last season. So it all starts with Mason Walters. He's playing as a sophomore this year. It seems like he's been around 6 years. He's out of Jamestown, hometown kid. First team All-American last season, 22 points a game, shoots 60% from the field. And I always say, I don't even know how many rebounds he averages, but he rebounds every ball that doesn't go in the bucket. A young group of guards are going to be very key for Coach Neville's Jamestown Jimmies this year. Mark Chose, a guy that Coach Neville is very high on, 46% from 3 last year. He can get hot. Everybody will remember, I think it was one game last season in the championship series. He got real hot, and he just destroys zones. But also Will Cordes, he's playing as a freshman. He's a defender. He's a hard worker. He's out of Shakopee, Minnesota. He's a 2-to-1 assist to turnover guy. And then Cole Woodford, also playing as a freshman out of Redwood Falls, Minnesota. He's a lefty, very athletic, a lot of upside. Some other guys returning for Jamestown. Devin Praska, he's out of Thompson, North Dakota, 6'5". And Devin Schultz, these are both seniors, are out of Arlington, Minnesota, 6'11". I understand he's lost some weight. Devin Schultz is pretty good. He doesn't get much playing time because you got Mason Walters, who hardly ever comes out of the ball game. But if Devin Schultz could be a stronger backup for Mason Walters, it could really improve his game if he doesn't have to play all 40 minutes. They've also brought in a few more guys. John Argue, he's coming in as a sophomore. He's out of Houston. Quick, long, good finisher, a guy who can get to the hoop. He's 6'8". Louis Schumacher, freshman, out of Linton, North Dakota. Brooks Carroll, another Jamestown guy, along with Kyler McGillis out of Bismarck State. He's from St. John, North Dakota. So Neville's team is going to be tough. You fans in Jamestown, get back out to Newman Arena, fill that thing up. This team, I'm not sure if this is going to be the year, but they're going to be tough. But the guards, can these young guards produce night after night after night in the GPAC, going to Dort, going to Morningside, going into the Corn Palace? That's going to be the question mark. It's one thing to play controlled scrimmages like we did last season, but can they produce on the road? That's going to be the question for Jamestown. And if these guards can come through, Jamestown is really going to be tough next year. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this rundown today. Remember, go to Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk, and join us. Also, wherever you listen to this podcast, please like and subscribe. I look forward to basketball starting, and you better be out ordering your season ticket. And if you already have your season ticket, call your neighbors and tell them to buy season tickets. Let's fill these stands. What is it? There's something that I say about, it's the best entertainment value in America. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Thank you.